Hey guys, I'm Christy, and I would love to share with you my favorite way to apply my Jamberry nails. So my first tip is to use Dawn dish soap to scrub your nails, which I have already done. I just used a small little nail brush to go ahead and work the soap really into my nails. It removes all the oil, which will make your jams last longer. If you are applying Jamberry Juniors, do not skip this step. It is the difference between 2 days on your little girl's nails and 2 weeks. It really does matter. The next thing I would do is I would take my nail spoon. You can pick one of these up at Sally's for about 10 bucks, and I believe even Walmart and Target might carry them. So I take my nail spoon and I push back my cuticles. And so I don't usually have a whole lot of cuticle to push back, but I have found that about 90% of my customers have what I call an invisible cuticle. And basically what it is a very thin layer of cuticle that you can't see until you start to push with this thing. And so if you try to apply a Jamberry over an invisible cuticle, that cuticle will produce oil and make your jams not last as long. So if you're having a lot of bubbling at the cuticle the next day after you apply them and you had a perfect application the first day, it's probably because of an invisible cuticle. So get rid of those if you can. My next step is to use a buffer and go ahead and buff the surface of the nail just to give the jam something extra to stick to. And I would go ahead and do this to all my nails, but I'm just going to do one for this purpose. Take an alcohol wipe and really, again, this is just drying out that nail so that your jams will really stick. Go ahead and let that dry. Don't apply the jam on it while it's still wet, but it doesn't take long to dry. My next step is to take my sheet of jams and to pick the size that will fit my nail. You do not want to go too big. If you go too big, the edges of the jam will touch your skin and produce oil. So you want to go even a tiny bit too small if you have to choose. Alright, so I like to fold my sheet of jams in half, and usually one will pop up like that, the one I want. And I will cut this in half. Now, I think it is okay to touch the Jamberry down here where I know it's already going to be cut off. But try not to get your finger oils on the actual adhesive part of the jam that's going to be stuck to your nail. So I go ahead and I heat that up. Now if you're using a metallic or a sparkle jam, you want to put extra heat. Even though they may curl, it looks like, oh, they're nice and soft and ready to apply. No, apply even more heat because those are a little bit less stretchy, and so you really want to get them nice and soft. Alright, so this one's heated. I'm going to match it up with my cuticle, and then I just push down the center of my nail. And all I'm doing here is really getting it lined up where I want it. Do you see how I haven't really applied it yet? Okay. So if your jam is still nice and warm, I'm going to put mine back in the heater just for a minute because I'm talking and doing this slowly. Then you're going to pull the top corner and pull it up and down. And then I'm going to smooth that side out. So do you see how that's nice and applied now? Alright, and I'm going to do that again, get it nice and warm, and I'm going to pull it out toward the tip of my nail and down. And the downward pulling motion really stretches the jam and makes it have a very nice tight fit on your nail. So you can see I'm applying pressure until it cools off. And so if you get this nice tight fit, then nothing's going to get underneath that Jamberry, and it's not going to come off until you take it off. So I have that done. And so my next step that I like to do is I take this nail spoon, and this is about to blow your mind, and I heat it up. If I'm going to do all of my nails at once, which I usually do, I'll set this nail spoon in a cup in front of my heater to keep it nice and warm. And so once you get it nice and warm, I actually go back and I iron on those jams. And if you can get the edges and that cuticle and the tip with a lot of pressure and heat at the same time, this thing does wonders, especially if you're doing metallics. This method is awesome. So I've got that nice and applied. Alright, so at this point a lot of people will file, and as long as you file in a downward motion, that's totally fine. I do not like to file, so I choose to clip, and I try to get a little bit of my natural nail along with this extra Jamberry wrap. I just find that getting a little bit of my natural nail as well, it helps it to make sure it's all nice and even. I don't have any scraggly edges or anything that's going to get caught. And then for extra insurance, a lot of times I'll heat up my nail spoon, if you have time, and I would just go over that tip that I just clipped with a little bit more pressure and heat, just to make sure it's sealed at the tip, because that's where your nail's going to take the brunt of activity. Alright, there you go, a perfect Jamberry application.